Ray and Holt had never seen a ship this quiet before. Most human vessels hummed with engines, footsteps, voices, and endless background noise. But the Aurelius, the alien academic vessel he had been assigned to, felt almost like a giant floating library. Every hallway carried a calm silence, and even the lights were soft and gentle, as if designed to never disturb anyone. He walked slowly, taking careful steps as he looked around. This was his first day on the ship, and even though he tried to stay confident, he felt a small, nervous knot in his stomach. He was the only human here, and the alien crew members, tall, graceful, with pale silver skin and smooth patterns across their arms, were unlike anyone he had ever met. Their species, the Solaran, were known throughout the galaxy for peaceful research and advanced telepathic communication. Humanity had always admired them, even envied them a little. They were elegant, calm, intelligent, and diplomatic, everything humans tried to be but didn't always succeed at. Rayan wasn't a diplomat. He wasn't a scientist either. He was an engineer, someone who preferred wires, circuits, and machinery to conversations. He knew how to fix things, how to understand systems, and how to solve problems quietly. That was why the Galactic Research Council chose him for this cultural exchange program. The Aurelius was old and needed maintenance, and humans were surprisingly good at repairing things built by species completely different from them. He was proud of that, though he rarely said it out loud. As he walked toward the orientation room, he noticed a group of Solaran passing him in the hallway. They moved with soft, almost floating footsteps, and they glanced at him with polite curiosity. Their eyes were bright, and their expressions were calm. Even their posture was perfect. Rayan gave a small, friendly nod. The Solaran nodded back with gentle smiles, though one of them seemed particularly interested. A young girl, well, young for her species, which lived for centuries, slowed down as she passed him. Her eyes, a deep glowing blue, lingered on him for a moment longer than expected. Rayan thought nothing of it and continued walking. But the young Solaran girl, Lyra, stopped after turning the corner. She leaned slightly against the wall, her brow tightening in confusion. She had just tried something simple, something her people often did automatically when meeting someone new. A light surface scan of their thoughts. Nothing intrusive, nothing deep. Just a brief mental impression to understand emotions and intentions. Among Solaran, it was a sign of respect, a way to show openness and honesty. But when she brushed her mind against the humans, she felt something she had never felt before. Not anger, not fear, not danger, just pressure. Like touching a calm ocean and discovering it had a hidden, powerful current beneath the surface. His mind wasn't chaotic like her instructors had described human minds. It wasn't simple either. It was structured, strong. And for a moment, she felt as if she had stepped too close to a bright light, one that didn't hurt her, but startled her enough to make her pull back immediately. She rubbed her forehead slowly, trying to make sense of it. "Strange," she whispered to herself in her own language. Rayan arrives at orientation. Rayan entered the orientation hall and found only one Solaran inside. An older figure stood near a large holographic display, reviewing a floating list of schedules. His long silver robe shimmered gently as he turned toward Rayan with a warm smile. "Welcome, Rayan Holt," he said in fluent Standard Galactic. "I am Director Elrath, supervisor of your stay here. It is an honor to host a human engineer on our vessel." Rayan smiled politely. "Thank you, Director. It's an honor to be here." Elrath studied him with thoughtful eyes. "Your species adapts quickly. I believe you will find our environment peaceful." Rayan nodded. "It's definitely peaceful. Almost too peaceful." Elrath chuckled softly. "We value quiet spaces. They help focus the mind." Rayan folded his hands behind his back, doing his best to appear calm. I can get used to that. Before Elrath could continue, the doors slid open with a whisper. Lyra stepped inside, her posture straight and serious, though her eyes briefly widened when she saw Rayan again. Elrath smiled at her. Ah, Lyra, thank you for joining us. I would like you to assist Rayan in becoming familiar with the ship. Rayan blinked. Assist me? Lyra gave a polite nod, though her expression was slightly tense. It would be my pleasure, Director. But Rayan noticed something unusual. She kept her hands clasped tightly, and she wasn't looking directly at him. She seemed unsure, something he didn't expect from a species known for calm confidence. Elrath continued, Lyra is one of our most promising young telepaths. She participates in research and also helps with cultural exchange. She will be a reliable guide during your stay. Rayan tried to give her a friendly smile. Nice to meet you. I'm Rayan. Lyra glanced at him for a brief second, before quickly looking away. Yes. Welcome. A walk through the ship. They began touring the Aurelius. Rayan walked beside Lyra, who pointed out different sections of the ship. Her voice remained polite, but something in her tone felt restrained. This hallway leads to the research wings, she explained. Most areas are open to you, but some require special permission. That's fine, Rayan replied. I'm mostly here to help with repairs. She nodded. Yes, humans have a remarkable ability to interact with unfamiliar technology. Many of our engineers are interested in observing your methods. Rayan chuckled softly. Honestly, I think humans just get used to broken things. Lyra looked surprised. Why? Because we break a lot of things, he said with a grin. For the first time, Lyra gave a small, genuine smile. It was brief, but it made her expression soften. She stole a quick glance at him, almost as if checking something. Rayan didn't notice, but she was testing the feel of his mind again, carefully this time, like lightly tapping on a door instead of trying to open it. Again, she felt that gentle pressure, not pushing her away, not blocking her, just existing. It felt like the calm focus of someone who lived through challenges and learned to stand steady no matter what. It was strong, but not in a sharp or harsh way, more like a deep foundation stone that did not move easily. She pulled back quickly before Rayan could sense anything. The moment the connection broke, she let out a tiny breath. Rayan glanced at her. You okay? Yes, she said quickly. Just adjusting the air filters. The ship is old. Rayan gave her a friendly shrug. I can check them later if you want. She almost answered, but stopped herself. She wasn't sure how to react to him. Her people rarely met humans in person. The reports she studied before his arrival described humans as emotional, unpredictable, and easily overwhelmed. They supposedly had minds filled with random noise, but Rayan, this human, felt completely different from those descriptions, and that bothered her. The observation deck. They reached a large glass dome overlooking the stars. The view was breathtaking, a field of glowing colors and distant cosmic dust clouds drifting silently across space. Rayan stepped closer to the dome. Wow, you get to see this every day? Yes, Lyra said softly. It reminds us how small we are, Rayan nodded. Yeah, but also how interesting the galaxy is. Lyra watched him quietly. The stars reflected in his eyes, and she studied him again, not with telepathy, just with simple observation. Something about his calm posture, his quiet wonder, and his steady presence felt unusual. Most species felt exposed on a ship surrounded by strangers, but Rayan looked peaceful. She spoke softly. May I ask a question? Sure. Human minds. Are they always like yours? Rayan blinked. Like mine? What do you mean? She hesitated. Calm, balanced, Difficult to read. Difficult to read? He repeated with a confused laugh. I don't think I'm that complicated. But Lyra knew better. He was complicated. He was steady, focused, and quietly powerful in ways she didn't understand. She suddenly felt embarrassed for scanning him earlier. Her people usually explained before doing something like that, especially with non-telepathic species. I apologize, she said quietly. For what? Rayan asked, genuinely puzzled. For misunderstanding you. Rayan smiled gently. It's all right. We're both new to this. Lyra looked down, her thoughts still swirling. She had no idea how to explain what she sensed without sounding strange, so she kept quiet. But one thing was clear to her now. This human was not simple. His mind was not weak, and if the brief contact she felt was only the surface, what lay deeper inside his thoughts might be far more than she was prepared for. Lyra walked through the quiet corridors of the Aurelius with slow, careful steps. Even though she kept her face calm, her mind was far from peaceful. Every few seconds, she remembered the strange pressure she felt when she touched Rayan's thoughts. It bothered her more than she wanted to admit. Solaran telepaths rarely felt discomfort when scanning someone's mind. They were trained from childhood to read emotional patterns gently, respectfully, and without causing harm. They never forced deeper entry. They never explored areas that were private. It was simply a way to understand mood and intention, nothing more. But Rayan's mind didn't react the way alien minds usually did. It didn't open. It didn't resist. It simply existed in a calm, strong state that made her own thoughts stumble. It felt like trying to read a book made of solid stone. She had only touched the surface for a second, yet that second left her confused, breathless, and slightly embarrassed. Why is his mind so steady? Why is it so grounded? She kept asking herself the same question. Most species had minds that felt light and transparent when she read them. Some were warm and friendly, some were nervous or excited, but all of them felt soft. Rayan's mind felt like a shield, quiet, deep, and guarded without even trying. That was what confused her the most. He wasn't protecting himself on purpose. He wasn't even aware she was scanning him. He was simply built that way, and she had no idea why. Rayan starts his first assignment. While Lyra struggled with her thoughts, Rayan was already busy with his first task on the engineering deck. He stood in front of an old power converter panel, reading its layout with focused eyes. The Scyllaran engineers watched him from a short distance, whispering softly among themselves. They were curious, not rude. Rayan pretended not to notice and kept working. He had been around curious aliens before on other assignments, so it didn't bother him. This old wiring, he muttered to himself, definitely needs a full reroute. He pulled out his handheld scanner and checked the voltage flow. Something wasn't right. The readings were too inconsistent. One moment the energy was stable, the next moment it flickered like a candle in the wind. He frowned and scratched the back of his head. Strange. This shouldn't happen in a Scyllaran ship. Their tech is usually perfect. One of the Scyllaran engineers stepped forward. Is something wrong? Rayan shook his head lightly. Not wrong. Just unusual. Do you mind if I open this panel? The engineer nodded politely. Of course, we trust your judgment. Rayan opened the panel and studied the interior. The wires looked fine, the circuits were clean, and the components were in good shape. Yet the energy readings were clearly unstable. He leaned closer and whispered, "Why are you flickering like this?" Normally, machines didn't surprise him. He understood most systems quickly, but this one was acting like it was hiding something. He sighed and stood up. I'll need to check the data logs. Something strange is happening in your power grid. Maybe a software problem. The Solaran engineers nodded again, still watching him with curiosity. One of them whispered something to another, but Rayan couldn't hear it. He didn't mind. He was used to being the only human in a room full of aliens. It came with his job. Lyra visits the research chamber. Meanwhile, Lyra entered the Solaran telepathic research chamber, a quiet, round room filled with soft lights and floating data screens. She approached the central table, where her mentor, Instructor Valara, was reviewing recent telepathic readings. Valara looked up from her work and smiled gently. "Lyra, you seem troubled. Is something bothering you?" Lyra hesitated. "I encountered something unusual." "During your guidance assignment?" "Yes." Valara closed the screen and gestured for her to continue. "Tell me." Lyra took a breath. "I scanned the human's surface thoughts, only for a moment. But his mind, it felt stronger than expected. Much stronger." Valara frowned lightly. "Stronger? In what way?" Lyra tried to put it into simple words. "It felt dense, like a heavy structure, calm but unmovable. I could not read anything beyond the surface, and the surface itself pushed back without force. It was natural." Her mentor leaned back in thought. "Interesting. Humans are known to have unpredictable emotional waves, but they are not known for mental resistance." "I know," Lyra said softly. "But he was not resisting me. He didn't even know I was scanning him." Valara folded her hands. "And yet you felt pressure?" Lyra nodded. Valara seemed thoughtful. "There have been rare reports of humans with unusually strong mental discipline. Some call it instinctive resilience. Others say it's because of their evolutionary history." Lyra blinked. "Evolutionary history?" "Humans evolved on a world full of challenges. Perhaps their minds had to adapt the same way their bodies did." Lyra lowered her gaze. "I should not have scanned him without warning." Valara smiled kindly. "It is part of our nature to read emotions. Do not blame yourself, but be careful. If his mind is naturally strong, pushing deeper might overwhelm you." Lyra nodded again, though her thoughts remained unsettled. Part of her wanted to avoid Rayan entirely. Another part wanted to understand him more. A chance meeting in the corridor. Later that day, Rayan walked down a quiet hallway while reading the data logs on his handheld device. He didn't see Lyra coming from the opposite direction until they nearly bumped into each other. "Oh, sorry," he said quickly, stepping aside. "It is my fault," Lyra said gently. "I did not look ahead." Rayan smiled. "Guess we're both thinking too much today." Lyra hesitated before responding. "Yes, I suppose we are." He noticed she seemed uncomfortable, but not in a rude or unfriendly way, more like someone who had too many questions and no answers. "You doing okay?" he asked. She nodded, though her eyes shifted slightly. "I am well. I simply have small concerns." Rayan closed his device and gave her his full attention. "You want to talk about it?" She glanced at him, surprised by the offer. "No," she said quickly. Then she paused. "I mean, not yet." "That's fine," Rayan said with a friendly shrug. "Whenever you're ready." Lyra studied his face for a moment. He was calm as always. No pressure, no impatience. Humans were supposed to be expressive and emotional, but Rayan seemed steady, almost Silaran in his calmness. It confused her even more. The second attempt. After a moment of silence, Lyra spoke softly. "May I ask a question?" Rayan nodded. "Sure." She swallowed lightly. "May I try something? Only if you are comfortable." Rayan raised an eyebrow. "What kind of something?" "A very light telepathic reading. I will not enter your private thoughts. I only want to understand a pattern." Rayan looked surprised. "You mean like reading my emotions?" "Yes," she said carefully. "Only the surface." Rayan thought for a moment. Humans weren't used to telepathy, but he trusted her. She had been nothing but polite. All right, he said. If it's safe. It is, she assured him. She closed her eyes. For a second, Rayan felt nothing unusual. But Lyra felt a wave of calm strength hit her like warm sunlight. Not bright, not overwhelming, but deep, like standing in a peaceful place where nothing could shake the ground beneath her feet. His mind was structured, layered, and steady in a way totally opposite from the reports she studied. This time, she didn't recoil. She entered very gently, touching only the softest outer layer. She felt quiet determination. She felt curiosity. She felt resilience, strong but peaceful. And underneath it all, she sensed a deep, stable core. She stepped back, eyes opening slowly. Rayan looked at her. Everything okay? Lyra nodded, though she looked deeply moved. Yes, thank you. It was surprising. In a bad way? He asked. No, she said softly. In a good way. Then she added in a quiet voice, barely above a whisper. Humans are far more complex than I thought. A new feeling. As they stood there, Rayan smiled lightly. Well, I hope that means I passed your test. Test? Lyra repeated. It was not a test. He laughed. Then I passed your curiosity. She found herself smiling softly, too. For the first time since meeting him, she felt something new, respect, and something else she couldn't name yet. But she knew one thing clearly. The human mind she touched was only the surface. Something deeper awaited, something she was not sure she was ready to understand. Rayan spent the next morning studying the Aurelia's energy logs. He sat at a small desk in a quiet corner of the engineering bay, his eyes fixed on the flickering numbers moving across his handheld device. No matter how many times he reviewed them, the readings still didn't make sense. The ship's power flow was dropping at random moments, sometimes for less than a second, sometimes for several seconds. There was no pattern, no clear cause, no damaged equipment, no broken wires, nothing physical. It felt like the ship was glitching, and Solaran technology did not glitch. He leaned back in his chair and rubbed his forehead. Something's wrong. I just don't know what. None of the Solaran engineers sensed anything unusual. Their calm voices and peaceful movements made it seem like everything was normal. Their telepathic channels were quiet too, as if the ship was completely healthy. But Rayan knew better. Something was hiding in the system. Something subtle. Something smart. He tapped the side of his device lightly. What are you? Lyra arrives. A soft sound echoed behind him. Gentle footsteps. Rayan looked up and saw Lyra standing near the doorway. She held a small data tablet in her hands. But her eyes were focused on him with a mixture of curiosity and concern. May I enter? She asked politely. Rayan smiled. Yeah, of course. She walked over and stood beside him. Her gaze moved to the energy logs on his device. You have been staring at the same data for an hour. You were watching me, he teased. No, she said honestly, but I sensed your concentration from the hallway. Rayan laughed softly. Guess that's a telepath thing. It is, she admitted. And you seem troubled. He handed her the device. Look at these readings. Lyra studied the flickering energy patterns, her expression growing serious. This is unusual. Yeah, Rayan said. That's one way to put it. She set the device down and tapped the side of the converter unit beside them. We ran a full diagnostic yesterday. It showed no issues. I know, Rayan said, but the logs don't lie. Lyra lowered her eyes. I have felt something too. Rayan paused. Felt something? She nodded slowly. A faint disturbance in the ship, like a quiet pulse that does not belong here. It does not touch my thoughts, but it moves through the walls, the floors, the network. Rayan leaned forward. Wait, you can sense that? A little, she said softly. But it is faint, almost invisible. Rayan frowned. Could it be someone testing a new system or running hidden experiments? No, Lyra said firmly. Our research rules forbid secret tests. Everything must be announced to the crew. Rayan rubbed his chin. Then what's happening? Lyra looked at him with calm seriousness. I think something has entered the ship. Rayan froze. Entered? Yes, she said quietly. Not physically. Through the data network. A cold shiver went down Rayan's spine. Like a foreign program? Lyra nodded. A silent one. Signs of the problem. Over the next hour, Rayan and Lyra moved through multiple engineering sections, checking system panels. Each one showed the same unusual patterns. Energy flicker, brief drops in temperature, quick, silent restarts of minor machines. Everything happened too fast to notice without detailed monitoring. Rayan whispered, "Whatever's inside the system is spreading." Lyra agreed. It grows more active with each hour, but the crew cannot sense it. Why not? Rayan asked. It hides from telepathic signals, Lyra said, just like it hides from your visual checks. So we're blind to it, Rayan muttered. Not completely, Lyra said. You can see the technical signs. I can feel the emotional disturbance in the ship's energy. Rayan gave her a small smile. Looks like we make a good team. Lyra lowered her gaze slightly, but she didn't deny it. Director Elrath joins. Then the doors to the engineering bay opened, and Director Elrath entered. His expression was calm as always, but his eyes carried a slight worry. Lyra, Rayan, I see you are working together early in the day. Rayan stood straight. Director, there's something wrong with the ship. Elrath raised an eyebrow. Wrong? Lyra stepped forward. We believe an unknown program has infiltrated the Aurelius systems. The director's face grew serious. Explain. Rayan handed him the device. These energy logs show short, repeating drops. They're too irregular to be mechanical. And not one part of the ship shows any physical damage. Elrath studied the readings, his eyes narrowing. These patterns, they should be impossible. Lyra added gently. Director, I also feel a disturbance. It does not touch my thoughts, but it moves through the ship in a hidden way. Elrath looked up sharply. A telepathic disturbance? Not telepathic, Lyra explained carefully. More like something that hides from telepaths. Elrath frowned for a long moment. Then he looked at Rayan. You are sure this is not a human misunderstanding? Rayan shook his head. No, sir. I've seen failing systems before. This isn't normal damage. This is controlled behavior. Controlled, Elrath repeated. Yes, Rayan said quietly. Like someone or something is testing the ship piece by piece. Lyra stepped closer to the director. We must investigate before it grows stronger. Elrath nodded. You have permission, but be careful. If a foreign program has invaded our network, it may attempt to hide deeper. Rayan took a deep breath. Then we'll have to find it before it does. Searching the lower decks, Rayan and Lyra moved toward the lower decks, where fewer people walked and the lights dimmed slightly. The air was cooler here, and the walls hummed softly with background energy. With each step, Lyra felt the strange presence more clearly. It is stronger here, she whispered. Rayan checked the nearest panel. So are the energy drops. Lyra placed her hand on the wall. Her eyes closed. Something is inside the system. It is watching, listening. Rayan froze. Watching. Yes, she said. It feels curious. Not harmful yet, but searching. Rayan swallowed. Searching for what? Lyra's eyes opened slowly. I do not know. They reached the lower control hub, a small circular room filled with blue holographic displays. Rayan accessed the system and pulled up a deeper layer of logs. His eyes widened. Lyra, look at this. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. Most were normal operating commands, but hidden among them were unfamiliar sequences. Thin lines of logic, repeating quietly, always shifting. Lyra stared. I do not recognize this code. Neither do I, Rayan said, and it's rewriting itself. She tilted her head. Rewriting? Changing shape, Rayan explained, like it's alive. Lyra stepped back slightly, her voice quiet. A self-modifying program. She paused. Then her voice became even softer. That is not Selaran technology. Rayan nodded slowly. I know. The moment of realization. A soft vibration ran through the floor. Rayan looked around. What was that? Energy shift, Lyra whispered. A strong one. She reached out with her mind, focusing gently, and then suddenly, she gasped. Rayan turned toward her immediately. Lyra? Her voice trembled slightly. It touched the crew. Rayan's heart jumped. What do you mean touched? A signal, she said. Soft, almost invisible. It passed through the telepathic field of the ship and brushed against every mind. Rayan felt his stomach sink. Did it affect anyone? No, not strongly, she whispered. But it tried. Rayan clenched his fists. Then it's testing limits. Lyra nodded. Testing how much influence it can gain. Rayan took a deep breath. We need to alert Elrath. We should, Lyra agreed softly. Then she added, almost to herself, but I fear he will not fully understand the danger. Rayan looked at the glowing code again. It felt alive, awake, and quietly spreading through one system after another. Then we'll make him understand, Rayan said firmly. Lyra nodded, her expression steady now. As they turned to leave the control hub, the lights flickered once more, longer this time. Rayan whispered, It's growing faster. Yes, Lyra said. And if we do not stop it soon... She looked at him with calm seriousness. It may try to take control of the ship. Morning on Horizon 6 felt quiet, almost too quiet. The artificial sun rose across the domes, painting soft gold light over the metal corridors. Leo walked alone through the observation hall, thinking about everything that had happened. Lyra's fear, the vision she saw. The truth she could not explain. He had slept very little. His mind had replayed the moment she read his thoughts and stepped back as if the universe had opened beneath her feet. She kept saying, Something follows you, something not meant for me to see. Her words stayed with him. As he walked along the wide corridor, he looked outside through the transparent wall. Stars floated beyond the station like scattered diamonds. Space was peaceful, but his heart knew something was waiting behind that peace, something connected to him. He tightened his grip on the data pad he carried. He had spent most of the night scanning station records, trying to understand why Lyra reacted that way. He still had no answer. He was about to turn into the central dome when he heard careful footsteps behind him. Lyra. She stood near the corner, her silver-blue hair dim under the morning lights, her violet eyes lowered. She looked calmer than yesterday, but still unsure. Leo, she said softly, we need to talk. He nodded. He had expected this. They stepped into a quiet chamber used for group studies and training. No one else was there. The door slid shut, and the soft hum of the station's systems filled the silence. For a long moment, Lyra said nothing. She pressed both hands together as if steadying her thoughts. Finally, she began. I saw something in you that does not belong to humans. Leo felt his breath pause. Lyra continued, choosing her words slowly, carefully. When my mind touched yours, I saw a light. It was not dangerous, but it was strong. Too strong for someone like me to understand. It felt ancient, as if it had lived longer than any world I know. Leo stared at her, confused but not scared. Are you saying I'm not human? No, Lyra said quickly. You are human, completely human. But there is a memory inside you, a memory not from you. He frowned. Like, inherited? Genetic? She shook her head. It did not come from your family. It did not come from your people. It came from something far away. What did you see exactly? He asked. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, recalling the vision carefully. I saw a bright shape, like a figure made of white light. It was standing behind you. It touched your shoulder, and then everything went silent, as if the universe listened to it. The room felt colder. Leo whispered, a figure of light. The dream. The voice telling him to go to Horizon 6. The feeling that someone watched him since childhood. Lyra opened her eyes and stepped closer. You did not imagine it, Leo. Whatever touched you, left something inside you. A message, a key, or maybe a warning. Leo exhaled slowly. And that's why you stepped back yesterday? That was only part of it, she said quietly. The other part was different. I saw a place I do not know, a huge gate in space, made of stone and light. It felt older than my world, older than your world, older than everything. The light figure stood in front of it, and behind the gate I felt movement. What kind of movement? Leo asked. Lyra wrapped her arms around herself. Something waking up? Silence pressed between them. The hum of air recyclers sounded louder. Lyra finally looked up at him again. I did not tell you the whole truth yesterday, because I was afraid you would not believe me. Leo gave a small, tired smile. Lyra, at this point I believe anything. Her expression softened, but then she took a breath, gathering courage. There is one more thing, she said. When I saw that figure of light, it was looking directly at me. Not at you, at me. Why you? Because I touched your mind. I entered a memory that was not yours, and it noticed. Leo felt a chill. You mean, it saw you? Yes, she whispered. And it did not want me to see more. He stepped closer, concerned. Did it try to harm you? No, but it closed the gate in the vision, very fast, and its light became sharp, like a warning. That is why I pulled away so suddenly, not because of you, but because of it. Lyra looked down, ashamed of her fear. Leo shook his head. You don't have to apologize. Anyone would be scared. She did not answer, but her shoulders relaxed a little. Then Leo said, Lyra, there's something I need to tell you too. He took a slow breath. When I was young, I had strange dreams about stars, about a voice calling me by a name I don't know. I always felt like someone was guiding me. My family thought it was just imagination. Lyra listened carefully. But when you looked inside my mind and saw that thing, I think I finally understand. He lifted his gaze to hers. Something chose me long before I came here. Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, and I think Horizon 6 is not the final stop. It is only the beginning. Leo felt his heart beat faster, not from fear, but from something else. A pull, a purpose. He asked, Lyra, why do you think I was chosen? She hesitated. Because humans see the world differently, she said. Humans push forward even when they do not know why. You explore, you challenge, you question. And sometimes, the universe answers. Her voice turned quiet. Maybe the light figure chose you because humans are able to change things no one else can. Leo didn't know what to say. He had never thought of himself as special. But Lyra's words stirred something inside him, something deep and long hidden. He looked at her. Are you afraid of me now? No, she said, without hesitation. I'm afraid of the thing behind the gate, but not of you." A gentle silence followed. Warm, honest. For the first time since she read his thoughts, they both felt calm. Then the door opened. Commander Taryn stepped inside, her uniform crisp, her expression serious. "There you two are," she said. "We need you in the central dome. Now." Leo and Lyra exchanged a confused look. "Is something wrong?" Leo asked. Taryn nodded sharply. "An unidentified signal appeared near the station. It appeared at the exact coordinates you entered last night, Leo." He froze. "And," Taryn added, turning to Lyra, "the signal emitted a pulse that matches the energy pattern of your people, almost perfectly." Lyra's face went pale. "That is impossible," she whispered. "My world is far from here. No ship travels this deep." Commander Taryn pressed a button on her wrist device. A floating hollow screen appeared, showing a strange pattern of light in space. "It's growing," Taryn said. "Every hour." Leo stared at the pattern. It looked like a swirling crack of light, like something pushing through space. Lyra gasped. "Leo, that looks like the gate." He turned to her sharply. "The gate from your vision." "Yes," she said, voice trembling. "It looks exactly like it." Commander Taryn frowned. "Gate? What gate?" Leo shook his head. "We'll explain on the way, but whatever this is, it's not random." Lyra stepped closer to the screen, her eyes widening. "The memory you carry," she whispered. "It's opening something." Leo felt shock run through him. "Opening?" he said. "You think I'm causing this?" "No," Lyra said. "Not you, but the thing inside your memory. It is waking up too." The lights flickered for a second, another small pulse from the signal outside. Commander Taryn stared at both of them. "I don't know what you two discovered, but right now the station needs answers." Leo and Lyra exchanged one more look. Fear, trust, and something else. Purpose. Leo straightened. "Then let's go." Lyra nodded. "Before the gate opens fully." They followed Taryn out of the room, the corridor lights guiding them toward the central dome, toward the signal waiting in space. Neither of them knew what waited on the other side, but they both knew one thing. Whatever the universe had hidden for so long was finally coming for them. The central dome of Horizon 6 buzzed with tense energy. Officers moved quickly between consoles, screens glowed with warning symbols, and the entire station hummed with a strange vibration that no one had felt before. Leo and Lyra stepped inside with Commander Taryn. The giant holographic display in the center showed the crack of light in space. It had grown wider, almost like a shining wound stretching slowly open. Everyone stopped what they were doing when Leo entered. He was no longer just a student. He was the center of the mystery now. Taryn pointed at the display. "The signal is increasing again. Another pulse in 30 seconds. Lyra leaned closer, staring at the swirling crack. "It reacts to him," she said softly. "It follows his presence." Leo swallowed. "Why me? I don't understand what I'm supposed to do." Lyra touched his arm gently. "We will find out, but we must be calm." The station lights dimmed as another pulse washed through space. The dome vibrated lightly, like distant thunder echoing through metal. A young officer spoke nervously. "Ma'am, the crack is stabilizing. It looks like something is forming behind it." Taryn frowned. "Forming? Explain." The officer zoomed the image. Behind the swirling crack, shapes of light flickered, slowly becoming solid. Leo took a step forward. His chest tightened. It looked like a structure, a huge structure. Lyra's voice turned soft with fear. That is the gate from my vision. I am certain." The entire dome fell silent as the glowing form took shape, massive pillars, ancient symbols, and an archway big enough to swallow a small moon. Leo whispered, "How is this real?" Lyra shook her head. It was waiting, maybe for centuries, maybe longer. Taryn looked at them with sharp eyes. If something is coming through, we need to prepare. Leo stared at the gate, feeling a strange pull, like invisible threads pulling him toward it. Suddenly, the hologram flickered to another image, a smaller reading, energy levels rising. Space bending, everything pointing to one thing. "Commander," an officer said, "it's opening." The gate pulsed once, twice, 3 times. And then, light burst from the center like a silent explosion. The dome shields vibrated from the shock. Lyra covered her mouth. "It's here." A silhouette appeared inside the shining doorway, not clear, not fully formed, just a shape, tall, bright, almost human in outline. Everyone in the dome froze. Leo felt something inside him shift, like the memory he carried was waking up too. The figure of light drifted closer, and without warning, the gate sent a beam of light directly toward Horizon 6. "Shields up," Taryn ordered. The shields activated, but the light was not an attack. It passed through the barrier as if the barrier did not exist. The beam stopped exactly in front of Leo. Lyra grabbed his sleeve. "Leo, don't move!" But Leo felt calm. The light wasn't trying to harm him. It was calling him. "What does it want?" Taryn demanded. Lyra stared at the beam. "It recognizes him. The figure I saw in his memory. It is this. It remembers him." Leo stepped forward slightly, feeling the warmth of the beam. And then, a voice echoed inside the dome. Soft, peaceful, ancient. "You carry our echo." Everyone turned toward Leo, but the voice was not coming from him. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Lyra whispered, "It is talking to you." The voice continued. "Long ago, we gave the echo to your line, a message, a warning, a path." Leo's heart raced. "What does that mean?" "Your kind reaches for the stars. You seek what others fear. We entrusted you with our last memory. And now the gate wakes because the time has come." The gate pulsed again, sending small ripples of light into space. Lyra stepped closer to Leo. "Ask it. Ask what it wants." Leo nodded, forcing himself to speak clearly. "What is the gate? Why did you put this memory inside me?" The figure inside the light shifted, becoming clearer. "We were guardians of knowledge, protectors of paths between worlds. The gate was ours to watch. But something came from far beyond our sight, something neither light nor shadow. We sealed the gate before it crossed, but we could not remain." The dome grew colder. Commander Taryn asked, "Are you saying something dangerous is behind that gate?" The voice answered, "Yes, it sleeps. But the seal weakens. Only the echo can renew it." Lyra looked at Leo in shock. "You are the echo, the memory they placed. You can close it again." Leo swallowed hard. "I don't know how." "You will. The echo knows the way." Leo took another step toward the beam. His body felt lighter, like the light was lifting him. Lyra grabbed his arm again. "Leo, if you go to that gate, can you return?" He hesitated. The voice did not answer that question. Commander Taryn looked torn between duty and fear. "Leo, think before you do anything." Leo turned to her. "If the gate opens fully, we don't know what could come through. If I can stop it, I have to try." "He is right," Lyra whispered. "This is why he was chosen." Leo looked at her, and for a moment everything else faded. Her eyes showed fear, yes, but also trust. Deep trust. "I'll come back," he told her gently. Lyra shook her head. "You cannot promise that." "I will try anyway." A small, sad smile touched her lips. "Then I will wait." The light beam widened, forming a path leading toward the giant gate outside. Leo stepped into the beam. His body rose slowly from the floor. Not painfully, not forcefully. It felt like floating on calm water. The dome watched in silence. Lyra whispered his name once, but he could no longer hear her clearly. The light around him was too bright. The station disappeared from view. The beam carried him across space, faster than thought, until the huge gate towered before him. Up close, it was breathtaking, made of energy and ancient stone, covered in symbols that glowed when he neared. The figure of light stood at the center of the archway, waiting. Leo felt the memory inside him open, like a flower blooming. Information flowed through him. Images, symbols, a pattern, a sequence. The seal, the way to close the gate, the purpose of the echo. The figure spoke inside his mind. Place your hand on the center. Leo stepped forward and touched the glowing surface of the gate. A surge of light shot through him, but it didn't hurt. It felt like warmth, like clarity, like the entire universe taking a deep breath. The symbols on the gate brightened. The crack behind it shrank. The ripples calmed. The energy slowed. The sealed gate was closing. Leo exhaled with relief until he felt something else, a presence, huge, distant, waking up behind the gate. The figure spoke quickly. Do not fear. The seal will hold. The last symbol lit up. A final pulse of light rushed outward. And then everything went dark. When Leo opened his eyes again, he was lying on the floor of the central dome. Officers stood around him. Commander Terran knelt beside him. Lyra held his hand tightly. Leo? Leo, can you hear me? Lyra asked, voice trembling. He sat up slowly. The hollow screen showed the gate shrinking back into the crack. The crack folded into itself like a closing flower. And then it vanished. Commander Terran let out a long breath. It's gone. Completely gone. Lyra threw her arms around Leo, relief shaking through her. You came back, she whispered. He smiled weakly. I told you I'd try. She pulled back, eyes shining softly. You did more than try. You saved us. Leo looked at the stars outside the dome. For the first time, they felt quiet, peaceful. The voice was gone. The gate was sealed, and the echo inside him had faded into silence. But as Lyra sat beside him, her hand still holding his, Leo felt something clear and strong. The universe still held many secrets. But now, he did not face them alone.